Hey everybody, welcome back. We are diving into the world of telemarketing scams
Oh,
today.
yeah.
I'm sure a lot of you have experienced this firsthand. You get
Yeah.
these calls and you're like, wait a second, is this real? We're going to be using a really in-depth document to guide us today,
Oh, wow.
all about how these scams work and more importantly, how to stay safe.
Like a guidebook for navigating these tricky calls.
Exactly like a decoder ring for all those shady calls.
Like that, yeah.
And what's really interesting is this document points out that while anybody can be targeted,
Right.
scammers often go after elderly individuals.
It's true. And unfortunately, it makes sense. They often grew up in a time when, a handshake meant something.
Right.
People were a lot more trusting, and they might not be as familiar with all the tricks and the technology that scammers use these days.
Yeah. And, it makes me think of my own grandma and how she would probably,
Oh, there.
fall for some of these things.
It's all about awareness and, empowering ourselves and our loved ones to spot these warning signs and protect themselves.
Okay, so let's get into the types of scams.
Right.
This document lists a whole bunch, but some really stood out to me. Like,
Well, some are like the classic greatest hits. They've been around forever.
yeah.
Like the lottery scam, congratulations, you've won.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a catch, Ken. You have to pay some fees up front.
It's crazy how that still works.
Right.
I mean,
It plays on people's hopes and dreams.
yeah.
That desire for a little bit of luck.
Definitely. And then you've got scams that, prey on people's good intentions.
Oh, yeah. Those are even worse in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exploiting people's kindness, like the charity scams.
Yeah.
Especially after a natural disaster or around the holidays when people are feeling generous.
Right.
Scammers know how to tug at those heartstrings.
Makes me so mad.
Yeah, it's disheartening for sure.
And then there are the ones that play on our fears. Like, who hasn't freaked out when they thought they got a computer virus?
Right, that moment of panic when you think your computer's been hacked.
Oh, totally. Every time I see a pop-up that looks even a little suspicious.
And that's exactly what the tech support scams prey on.
Yeah.
They call you up, sounding all official, saying there's a problem with your computer.
Oh.
You need to act now or risk losing everything.
Oh, gosh.
And then they
Yeah.
pressure you into giving them remote access or paying for some bogus software.
It's scary how convincing they can be.
It is. But, beyond these specific types, this document does a great job of breaking down the common threads of how these scams actually work.
Okay, so it's like they're following a script.
Exactly. A playbook for deception.
Tell me more. I'm intrigued.
Well, the first step is usually an unsolicited call.
Okay, so already a red flag.
Right. They call you out of the blue, catching you off guard.
It's like, why are they calling me?
Exactly. And then they move on to the trust building phase.
Okay.
They might pretend to be from a government agency, a bank, a tech company.
Right.
They use official sounding language.
Hmm.
Might even have some of your personal info to sound more legit.
Wow, so they really do their homework.
Yeah, they lay the groundwork, but then how do they go from building trust to actually getting what they want?
Right, good question.
Pressure.
That's
They create a
interesting.
sense of urgency, like this offer's only good today, or you need to act now to avoid a penalty.
Got it.
Trying to get you to make a quick decision without thinking it through.
It's like that fear of missing out, right? And maybe they make you feel like you're getting something special too.
Exactly. They might use flattery or appeal to your greed or even threaten you with consequences if you don't comply.
Oh, gosh.
It's all about manipulating your emotions.
So it's like a carefully crafted plan.
It is. And that's why recognizing those red flags, those little hints that something isn't right,
Right.
is so important.
Yeah. Okay, so hit me with some red flags. What should we be looking for?
Well, we've already talked about unsolicited calls if you're getting calls out of the blue about your finances, your computer, a prize you won. That's definitely a warning sign.
Like, why wouldn't they just send a letter
Good point.
or an email?
Right. And another major one is high pressure tactics.
Okay.
If someone's rushing you into making a decision, especially a financial one,
Uh-huh.
that's a huge signal to slow down and think.
So if they're like, you got to decide now.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, don't think too hard. Just give us your money.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's unusual payment methods. This document mentions wire transfers and gift cards.
Yeah, those are big red flags.
I'm curious why those specifically.
Because they're practically untraceable.
Ah, I see.
Once the money's gone, it's gone.
So they're trying to cover their tracks.
Exactly.
Okay, so if someone's demanding payment through those methods, red flag.
Huge red flag.
Like they're hiding something.
Right. And the thing is, even if you're super careful, some scammers are just really good at what they do.
So then how do we protect ourselves if they're that good at sounding legit?
That's where verification comes in. It's like your secret weapon.
Okay.
If something feels even slightly off,
Uh-huh.
you need to independently confirm the caller's claims.
Okay, so how do we do that? Where do we even start?
That's what we'll dig into next. How to become a verification pro
I like it.
and really put those scammers in their place.
Awesome. I am ready for that. So we know the red flags and the warning signs, but how do we actually verify if a call is legit?
Well, a healthy dose of skepticism never hurts.
Right.
And a little bit of research.
Like, we need a detective kit for this.
Kinda. Yeah, remember, we're trying to outsmart these scammers.
Right.
And knowledge is power.
So let's say I get a call about a prize I've supposedly won.
Okay.
Already picturing that tropical vacation.
Right.
How do I make sure it's not a scam?
First, don't let the excitement cloud your judgment.
Okay.
Take a deep breath and think back to those red flags.
Right.
Did you even enter this contest? Does the caller's number match up with the organization they say they're from?
Good point.
Yeah.
Okay, but what if everything seems legit and I'm still not sure?
So you gotta do some digging. If they say they're from a company or organization, don't take their word for it.
Right.
Look up their official website or phone number independently.
Okay.
Don't use any contact info the caller provides.
Ah, that's smart.
They could easily give you a fake number
Oh, yeah.
or a website that looks real but is actually a trap.
So I find the official contact info, call them directly and say, hey, is this offer real?
Exactly.
Okay.
It might seem like an extra step,
Yeah,
but it's worth it for peace of mind.
definitely. I'd much rather spend a few minutes checking than risk my money
Right.
or my information.
Absolutely measure twice,
Yeah.
cut once.
But what about when it's not a company, but someone claiming to be from like a government agency?
Ooh, yeah, government agencies are a favorite for scammers
Right.
because it sounds intimidating.
Uh-huh.
But same principles apply.
Okay.
If someone says they're from the IRS or Social Security,
Yeah.
calls you out of the blue, demanding payment or threatening legal action,
Okay.
hang up
Hang up.
and call the agency directly.
Using the official number.
Exactly.
Okay, so if it feels fishy, it probably is.
Yeah. Trust your gut.
And the best way to be sure is to verify.
You got it. And, even if you don't fall for the scam reporting, it can help protect others.
Oh, that's a good point.
You can report it to the FTC or your local authorities.
So we can fight back.
Exactly. Do your part.
It feels good to know we can take action.
Yeah. You're not helpless.
But even with all these tools and tips, it's still kind of scary how sophisticated these scams are becoming.
It's true. They are getting more clever,
Yeah.
but so are we.
Right.
The more we know about their tactics, the better prepared we are.
It's like a game of cat and mouse.
Kinda, yeah. But we're getting smarter.
And speaking of awareness, I think that's a key point.
Absolutely.
This document really emphasizes prevention.
The more we understand how these scams work and the red flags,
Right.
the less likely we are to become victims.
It's like having a mental checklist.
Exactly.
Unsolicited call, red flag pressure tactics, red flag unusual payment methods.
Giant flashing red flag.
Exactly. And we're not just protecting ourselves.
Right.
We can share this with our friends, family, especially older loved ones.
Absolutely.
Like creating a safety net.
Yeah, spreading awareness so everyone's equipped to handle these situations.
But what about when, even with all the precautions, someone does fall victim?
That's a good question, and it's something we need to talk about.
Yeah.
It's not about blaming the victim.
Right.
It's about understanding and supporting them,
Okay.
because often shame and guilt prevent people from seeking help.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's easy to say, I would never fall for that.
Right.
But these scammers are really good at what they do.
They know how to exploit vulnerabilities
Yeah.
and manipulate emotions.
So if someone you know does fall victim,
Yes.
what do we do?
Offer compassion and support. Encourage them to report the scam and take steps to prevent it from happening again.
It's like we're building a community of awareness.
I love that.
Yeah.
A support system to help each other.
Navigate this crazy world of scams.
Exactly. A community effort.
The more we talk about it,
Yeah.
share our experiences, support each other,
The stronger we become.
and the more we can outsmart those scammers.
Right.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
It has.
I feel like we've only scratched the surface, though.
There's always more to learn.
Right.
But we've covered some really important stuff.
We have, and I'm sure our listeners are feeling much more empowered.
I hope so.
Yeah,
Remember, knowledge is power.
that's right. And speaking of knowledge,
Yeah.
we'll be right back to wrap up this deep dive with some final thoughts. Wow, what a deep dive this has been.
Yeah, a lot to think about.
It's amazing how sophisticated these scams are getting.
Right, and how manipulative.
But hey, We're smarter than them.
That's the attitude.
We've got the knowledge now.
Exactly.
And, one of the big takeaways for me is
Yeah.
the importance of sharing this info,
Absolutely spreading the word.
especially with people who might be more vulnerable.
Right? Not just older family and friends, but anyone who might not be familiar with these tactics.
Yeah, or going through a tough time.
Exactly. When you're vulnerable, it's easier to fall for these things.
It's like we're building a safety net.
I like that.
Yeah, a network of informed people looking out for each other.
A community effort.
Imagine if everyone knew about these scams and the red flags.
We could make a real difference.
Yeah, it'd be like a scam-busting neighborhood watch.
Exactly. And, this document also made me think about the emotional impact of these scams.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
It's not just about the money.
Right.
It's the emotional toll on the victims.
The betrayal, the shame.
Exactly, the self-blame.
It could be so hard to deal with that.
Especially if you're already feeling vulnerable.
Like it's a violation of trust.
It is. And it can make people withdraw and isolate themselves.
And afraid to ask for help.
Exactly. So it's so important to create a safe space for victims.
Yeah, where they can talk about it without judgment.
Compassion, understanding, support.
Like a support group where people can connect and say, hey, this happened to me.
Right. And it's okay to feel upset or confused.
And by sharing those experiences, we can all learn and grow.
And become more vigilant in the future.
So as we wrap up, what's the one message we want to leave our listeners with?
I'd say stay informed.
Yes.
Stay vigilant and trust your instincts.
If something feels off, it probably is.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to question, to verify, and to say no.
And remember, you're not alone in this.
We're all in this together.
By sharing knowledge, supporting each other, and taking those proactive steps,
We can make a real difference.
we can outsmart these scammers.
That's right. Knowledge is power.
And together, we can protect ourselves and our loved ones.
Absolutely.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of telemarketing scams.
Stay safe out there, everyone.
And remember, if a call feels wrong, trust your gut and hang up.
You're not being rude.
You're being smart.